Breaking news in the Continental Football League. It's what we've anticipated. They announced that they were gonna let everyone know who their head coach was gonna be, this Thursday.
The time
Uh,
has come.
so, so we've been anticipating this, looking forward to it, and I have to say, they did not disappoint.
They didn't.
So the Indianapolis Capitals announced Mike Vanderjagt as their head coach.
Yeah, he had some good years with the Colts and Argonauts in the CFL. So he's built a legacy in North America, like pro football.
Yeah, so this is a guy that has a ton of football experience and succeeded at every level, really.
Yeah,
You go back and you look at his career, and granted, it's been a while. He was a kicker in the NFL, but if you're my age, you remember him. So. We'll kind of take it back a few stages, just kind of give some context with who Mike Vanderjagt is. So, first, Mountaineer in college, West Virginia Mountaineer. So the Mountaineer ties run strong with the Indianapolis Capitals,
yeah.
as Bozak and now or Bocek, I'm not sure how she says it, but leader in the front office for the Capitals, and now Mike Vanderjagt, both from the Mountaineers.
Yeah.
Then I think this is probably the part you like the most. He played in the Canadian Football League.
Yeah. He had some what he won two Great Cups with the Toronto Argonauts.
Yes.
Yeah, so he's built a legacy.
Yeah. And then NFL retired as the most accurate kicker in the NFL, spending the vast majority of his career with the Indianapolis Colts. So
Yeah.
a guy that really was clutch, including a perfect season in 2003.
That's crazy.
So yeah, that's something that is, I think that's the first time it ever happened. But so Capitals have a head coach, and I think it is a guy that has, a depth of football knowledge and ties to Indianapolis.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see what he can do as a head coach because we haven't really seen him like fill that spot.
Yeah, since he retired, I don't know what he's been doing, so I don't know if this is something that he's explored at all at the high
He's just
school
been
or collegiate
chilling in
level or anything
Indianapolis.
else. But it's definitely an opportunity where his name carries a lot of weight and really will
It definitely
help.
it brings some knowledge to the league.
Yeah, it's a good look for the league to have someone with that much experience. So I think that's a good call. And so I think I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Hopefully, he's actually a good head coach and this isn't some bad hiring.
Yeah, so that's the next thing. You actually have to be able to do it. It's one thing to go out there and kick and win games. It's another to lead young men and put them in a position to win and be able to teach them and guide them. It's a whole different skill set and everything. So hopefully he has what's needed for that. But I think that covers the Capitals for now. The other thing that we've talked a bit about is the Continental Football League. They've got 5 teams. They want to have 8. So they need 2 more teams in the North. They need another team in the South. And we've talked a little bit about that. What we've speculated. They've said that they're looking at 2 ownership groups for the North and 2 ownership groups to pick one of those as the fourth team in the South. So
Yeah.
4 potential owner groups to fill 3 positions, and so they plan to announce that in October. So a little bit of time for them to do their due diligence, which I think is a good thing. I think it's an important decision. You want to take the time, make sure that everything is in place for the teams to be successful. I think it's a lot easier to take a little extra time at the beginning than to jump in, maybe be a little too enthusiastic, and then realize that they're not in a position to be successful. But with that being said, I think we've talked a little bit about where we thought would be interesting for the league to be. So, did you want to talk about what we thought as a few options?
So, yeah, I have the four ownership groups that they talked about, two for each. And obviously the South, that's a little more interesting because we could see both of those North ownerships make it, but with the South, only one of them does.
Yeah,
So I think we wanted to say one for each of the South and just pick ours that we want instead of, just trying to say two each. So I'm gonna say San Angelo to give that tall city an instant rival. What were you thinking?
yeah. So I think that's an interesting choice because I think there's already been ties to San Angelo and the Continental Football League
With the
uh,
Sidewinders,
with the Sidewinders. So if there's already inroads to that development, I think that facilitates an easier opportunity for that to come to fruition. Um, so I'm not sure where else they've looked, but it's very clear that they like Texas. And granted, football's huge in Texas, and
yeah,
it's a big state. There's a lot of in places that would support a team
in
at
Texas.
this level.
Yeah,
So I think that there's probably quite a few choices. I think one that we really don't hear about too often at the higher level, like the NFL or even the UFL, I think El Paso might be an interesting option. I know you've got concerns. What would be your concern with El Paso?
like just the travel. They're so far away from everyone, being the most one of the most western like cities in Texas that are actually really big because they're basically in New Mexico.
Yeah, Texas is a huge state, so you could have two teams in Texas be further away than teams in separate states in other locations. It's a huge state, and the thing is, I think there's gonna be a degree of travel. I mean, I think that
It's
4 or
just
5 hours isn't too far.
it's a lot for such a small league to have to like drive 5 hours. Like imagine all the away games that they have to take like and drive all those hours just to get to the nearest team and even more for the farther teams and the other teams that have to drive there too.
Hmm.
It's just a lot of resources, and we've seen this with Norfolk, like how they were expected to play next year after Michigan was out. Norfolk, it's so far away. It's so far away.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, Norfolk's a whole different animal. I think there's a difference between being 4 or 5 hours away versus being 8 or 12 or,
Yeah, but
something like that.
it's like you can see it similarly. It's just a little farther away than I think they'd like it to be, but
Hmm.
I wouldn't roll it out. There's a lot, because obviously if someone has that money that they can get a team 4 or 5 hours away, they definitely do it.
Yeah. So that's my thought as far as would be interesting to see if that's a possibility. I think the other thing that's interesting is the North. We need two more. We've only got two right now.
Yeah,
We've got the Capitals and Cincinnati, who are super close together. Like there's not much distance between those two.
that's
Uh,
good for them though.
and um, and a reminder. So they said if you look at Indianapolis as the center of the North. So I imagine you draw a circle and Indianapolis is in the center. You want those other North teams to be within that circle. So if we've got Cincinnati, what other places do you think would uh would look good for the North?
So I was thinking Michigan would be a really good place. They had the Arrows there, and that didn't really work out, but they definitely wanted to keep that as an option, and I think they could definitely find a place that would support it. Um, there might be a little bit of concern, just, but I don't really see it. If they're gonna play in the Detroit area, I think it'd be a good place for them, and I think they are one of the top places for consideration right now, and I wouldn't be shocked if we saw them as the first guaranteed team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that would be the favorites at this point
Yeah,
because that's already where the league was looking. It makes sense geographically. It also makes sense like to have teams positioned like that from a rivalry standpoint. and so I think a Michigan team would be good. Um, the only thing I think is interesting is I know that the UFL is also looking at teams probably in Michigan too. So
It's a whole different beast.
so where's the best fit for a UFL team? Where's the best fit for a Continental football team? I think that
The COFL plays in a smaller group.
yes.
They play in a whole different time.
Mhm.
I think people would support it. I think people in Michigan really want more alt teams,
Well,
and
yeah, but I don't think you want two alt teams in the same city.
I think I wouldn't be shocked if we didn't, and I wouldn't be shocked if they supported them.
I think that would be a stretch. I
I
think
don't think so.
yeah, I don't think that would be the best approach to have like
And if they do it the like before this season, they're before the UFL.
mhm.
Like the UFL, that stadium would be be complete until like 2028.
Yeah, and so that would be something to consider then is if a COFL team, goes there, then it's less likely that the UFL is
The
going to, I think.
original Michigan Arrows did play in the CFL for a bit, but before they got renamed the Tri-City Apollos. So maybe we see a team called the Tri-City Apollos.
Yeah.
I don't know, but you don't seem too big on the Arrows.
So, I mean, I'm okay with the Arrows, and I think that a Michigan team is highly likely. I just don't know if it's the best strategy to have Continental Football League and UFL League team both in the same city. But moving on from that,
Yeah.
I think an interesting choice, and so much of this depends on being able to solidify like an arrangement with a stadium arena, right? I think Youngstown could be an interesting one.
Yeah.
So they have like a pretty strong um, FSC or FCS football team with Youngstown University. They're usually one of the better teams at that second level. I know we're not talking like Division One, but there's a pretty strong tradition of football there. I've been to the stadium there, and I think it's not half bad. I like the way that it's set up. So I think that could be a cool place. Imagine a team like the Youngstown Yeti in the Continental Football League too. I think that would be something that would be fun and still within the radius of the league too. And Youngstown, not far from Cleveland, not far from Pittsburgh. So if you're looking at young players that you want to be able to um to develop, I think there's a lot they could pull from.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of options, and I'd like a Youngstown team, but I was thinking when they said Indianapolis, like Indiana as the center, I was like, we're thinking we're thinking west, we're thinking east, we're thinking north. No one's thinking south. What if they did Lexington? Kentucky, they're finally getting like their props. They got Kentucky in the UFL, the Louisville Kings, and they just won the championship. They won the United Bowl, and I think this is a good time to get Lexington into like pro sports.
Yeah.
And I think Lexington would be a great market. So I think that's my second pick for the North.
Yeah, yeah, that would be fun, and that could be a rivalry, with Cincinnati, too. Ohio, Kentucky. Cincinnati's right on the board. Cincinnati's almost thought of as more, Kentucky than Ohio in some, uh, in some ways, because it's right there along the border. But but yeah, I think that is also a place to look at for the league that would make sense.
Yeah,
So I think another place that would be interesting, and again, I haven't done a ton of research, so I don't know if there is even a viable option, but I think Milwaukee would be fun for the Continental Football League. So they've had traditions there. You had a history of football there, and there was a time where Wisconsin had like several NFL teams, but I think Milwaukee could also be a place that's able to support it.
Yeah,
Uh,
I did a video in my Forgotten Football States and Cities series, the first one that was with Milwaukee, and I really do think it's a viable option. Like, there's definitely a lack of teams there, and I'd really love if they could fill that in.
yeah, I think that that would be a fun choice. So, just to recap, so Continental Football League, new head coach in Indianapolis with Mike Vanderjack, West Virginia ties, Colts ties there, right with Indianapolis. So I think a really strong hire. And then the league looking here probably about 2 months from now to be ready to announce, three expansion teams.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
excited.
and so a lot on the horizon. If you check out their website, if you follow them like on Facebook or Instagram, Manny's been putting out little videos. They've also kind of embraced the history of the Continental Football League and really kind of shown some of the games from the 60s and really tried to kind of celebrate and connect with that past. And they really want to make that part of what the league is, it looks like.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of history, and I really like that they're establishing former teams, like with the Indianapolis Capitals, the San Antonio Tours, Michigan Arrows. All these teams used to exist.
Yeah.
You know, you got a few like Tall City, they didn't exist. Like Texas Syndicate, they didn't exist. Cincinnati Dukes, they didn't exist. It's like kind of like a call up, and I really like that it's a mix of new and old. It's really good.
Yeah. And the league, the name, Continental Football League. So the continent is the idea of the league, the concept. And
They
they've
used
talked about wanting 24 teams.
they used to have a lot more. Like I've I really want to see some ones like when they talked about having the Vegas Gamblers, I immediately thought of the Las Vegas Cowboys. They played in the original CoFL. Were they good? No, they were horrible. But they did play. So that's a little bit of history. I was thinking maybe the Albuquerque Silvers, they played. There's a lot of places, obviously Norfolk, that's a big one. I hope we don't see it this year though. I really don't want this league to go on the ground
No,
after
that would
after
not
this.
be. And I think that's what they've said without coming out and saying it. I think in the long term, the idea is to have, 24 teams. So that would be a continental football league.
Yeah.
You would have teams throughout the country, but they want to grow it where teams are close enough to support each other. So I think that eventually we might have a Norfolk team. Eventually we might have another Orlando team like they used to have. But
Yeah.
I think that they'll bring teams on in twos and fours and enough where they can have them grouped together and play the vast majority there locally. Even though it's continental, they want to limit the travel and everything else. So I but I think that we're going to have more news here in a month or two, and if anything else comes up in the meantime, we'll be happy to share that. And then I think that if they if they do things the right way, that we'll continue to see the Continental Football League grow.
It doesn't seem like let's say we do Indianapolis, Cincinnati. Those are already guaranteed. And you do Michigan from mine and you do Milwaukee from yours. That would honestly be pretty perfect.
I would like it. Yeah,
I mean, I do love the idea of having Youngstown and Lexington, but though like I think Michigan and Milwaukee would be perfect additions to it.
yeah.
I think that does do it though. I don't know if there was much more that we needed to say, but we'll definitely try and keep updated with the league. They aren't very good at posting anything, but
I think
we try.
I think they're working on that. They've revamped the website,
Yeah,
and they're bringing in those interns to kind of, I think, work with the website and social media and all that. So I think it's something they recognized they need to put more attention on because you're right, it has been lacking. So hopefully we see that change. And if you want to keep up with them, come here because that's one thing that that we are watching out for and we're happy to
Yeah,
talk about.
I I do think that that's really it, but hopefully we see more with the league, and hopefully we have a very good 2027 season. Maybe we see some of these guys get called up. Hopefully Will Arndt get called up. He was the MVP last year, the best player by far.
Yeah. When there is something to hear or see, we will be here to share it with you.
Yeah.